Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make a masterboard and different things that you can make with it and different ways to use it. So my scrap pile was getting a little bit out of hand, and one of the easiest things that you can do to use up some of these scraps is what is called a masterboard. And basically this is just a collage, and here I am picking colors that I thought went well together. So I was doing more like pinks and blues, some greens, a little bit of lavender thrown in there. So I'm just filtering through all the scraps and just looking for pieces that went well together. Once you have all the scraps that you want to use, you pretty much just rip and glue. So I guess you can say there's not really a method, but a couple of tips is I like to keep most of the edges soft or torn. So I do go through and kind of give those edges a little bit of a rougher look. But it would also look really nice if you kept all the edges straight and did more of a quilt look. Here I'm using one of those strips at the end of a scrapbooking pad or page. And it's just a bunch of different scraps that I'm going to be using. Another tip is to make sure that if you do use the same pattern, you keep it far enough where you're giving it some contrast in between all the colors. So you can definitely reuse the same paper throughout your collage, which I do. And I also like to keep plain papers in there because they serve as writing spots when the page ends up getting cut up. So here I'm just continuing to layer pieces, and you can see like the blue wallpaper piece that I placed there. It's far enough from the other blue. So then in between I fill it in with different colors. So this just kind of spreads everything out. I also had some scrap washi. So basically I'm just doing the same principle here, just tearing them up and spreading them throughout the paper. Okay, so this is what it's looking like. And you might have some edges that are lifting up, and you can solve this by either adding some glue to them, or you can make sure that if you're going to sew, that when you sew, you kind of pick up those edges and make sure that they're staying down. Or you can add some washi on top too. So I am going over with the sewing machine, and I'm just making random lines, or not necessarily random, but they're not perfectly straight is what I was trying to say. So if you don't have a sewing machine, obviously you can skip this step. It's not necessary. You just have to make sure that your edges are not lifting with either glue or washi tape. Okay, so now the masterboard is pretty much done. So there's several things that you can do and several ways that you can use it. So one of them being a journal cover. And because you can see the sewing on the inside, it would just look better and more finished if you covered the inside with like some pretty scrapbook paper. So that's just what I'm showing here. But I'm actually going to make tags and other things with it. So I'm going to just line it with some coffee dyed music paper. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just gluing it down. Okay, so now I'm ready to start cutting it up. And I like to flip it the other way, so that way it takes the thinking out of which way you should cut, and it just makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to make a couple belly bands, some journaling tags, and yeah, I think that was my general plan. So that's what I'm cutting here. And I cut a few different sizes for the journaling cards, and this is what we get when we flip them around. So I am rounding the corners on some of the cards. Some of them I left straight. And the way that I cut a tag shape, I just kind of eyeball it, but I used the corner to match the angle. So I made a few belly bands, another tag shaped journaling card, and then some of them I kept just as regular squares or rectangles. So journaling cards are probably like the easiest or the go-to thing that you can do. But here I decided to make one of these a frame. So I kind of measured it out to the Canon Selfie 4x4 shape. And because I have a lot of pictures that size, so it would work with pretty much any picture that I had in my stash at this moment. And so I'm just going to cut that out. And then the negative that we get, we can make into a tiny journaling card. So using this technique, I've made another or a few other collage boards, and here I'm showing you like you can use one of those belly band as decorations on anything really, but I just put them on these little file folders that I made. Using the same technique, I also made an envelope, but I covered it in Mod Podge, and that way it makes it really durable, and then I just store already made stuff in there. And here I'm showing you another thing. I covered a box using the same collaging technique, also covered in Mod Podge, so it's durable and it doesn't peel off or anything. And I just store like little tickets and embellishments that I've already made in there. But just to say that this technique is great and you can get a bunch of different items, and it's a great way to use all the scraps in your stash. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good day. Bye.